I'm Jimmy Lewis with Dirt Bike Test, and today we are going to talk about the difference between the Beta 300 RR Race Edition and the regular Beta 300 RR. So we've had this bike for a long time, been doing a lot of testing with it, a lot of just riding it, and we just got our hands on the 300 Race Replica. So this is Beta's higher end bike. It's about $400 more. You get Kayaba suspension in a twin spark plug head and no oil injection. So that's the differences in the bike. This one, again, oil injection, sack suspension, single spark plug head. The other thing that I noticed that was different on this is the frame is different. And I noticed it just in the handling. The handling was a little bit sharper, kind of something in the steering and the way the front end kind of behaved. And sure enough, I measured it, and there's definitely a different width frames tube going up to the headset. So Beta's definitely, and they're always making little changes year after year. Like you look at the bikes in each year, and the 25 models are even different again, but they make small changes, and they're not doing anything too crazy. For instance, the main reason I wanted to ride this bike was for the twin spark plug head. And I did a little research about it, had some friends that understand engines tell me a little bit about the history and stuff that happens. And it was good because it allowed me to experience something I probably wouldn't have tried as much had I not been told. So where I thought it was going to help was in low end, like cleaning up the carburation, which this bike is amazing. The low end carburation is so good that I compare it to fuel injection all the time. And Beta's obviously paying attention to this, hence going to the twin spark plug head, which they say allows for a more efficient combustion, more fuel efficiency. I don't know if the jetting is the same in these bikes, but it pretty much feels like it. I only want to play a little bit maybe with a needle clip position on this bike right now. But what I noticed between the power delivery is that every time you crack the throttle on this bike, no matter when you are turning it back on, when you're zero throttle or you're a quarter throttle and you go into half, or you're wide open, you come off and you come back on, every time you crack the throttle, you will notice that this bike is a little bit more responsive. And it's getting closer to what fuel injection is. It actually smooths the bike out. So fuel injection is kind of accused of doesn't have any hit, but it's just very responsive. So it doesn't have that delay, then hit, or, bog, then power coming on, which people perceive as hit. So this is getting closer to that. Really, really good. The other thing that was pretty amazing is that at top end, and we're talking like when you get up into over rev, this bike, the 300 Race Replica with the twin spark plug head, revs farther and pulls a little bit longer, and it's cleaner. And it was surprising. For like desert racing kind of conditions, or when you get out in an open field on a grass track and you're just letting her eat big hill climbs, you will notice this. It definitely feels like it makes more power, which is ideally what we're trying to do. These things already make a lot of power. This makes even better power. So pretty impressive on that front. So that's the biggest change in the engine. And of course, now I want a twin spark plug head on this one because I like oil injection. Then we come to the suspension. So of course, chassis slightly different, but the suspension, I guess I was expecting it to be different because I like the suspension. I really didn't have much to complain about. We played around with the clickers. I got the bike balance. We serviced the suspension, which is really important on the sack stuff. You've got to service it. You've got to let it break in. But the Kayaba, just like on everything else, like on Yamaha, the Kayaba suspension has been praised. And when everybody else is trying to do all this other stuff, everybody just goes, the Kayaba is kind of the standard. No different on this bike. It has just a plushness. It's I call it the dead planet feel is the difference between these two bikes. When I used to get to ride factory suspension, there was this, it was stiff, but it was plush and compliant. This isn't that level of stiffness. It still works incredible for everything from like single track trail to, going fast out in the desert, which is mostly what I've done on it lately. I'll definitely get it up on the trail a lot more sooner rather than later to make sure that we're still feeling the same stuff, but we have some technical stuff out here. And it didn't, like, this bike's impressive in the tight technical, and this one doesn't feel like it's going to be any different. But it has a plushness and a damping character through the stroke that's just, I would say, like, it feels like there's 20 to 30% more damping going on without any sort of extra stiffness. They both bottom about the same on the impact, so it feels like the balance and the spring rates are kind of the same. But when this one, it feels like it takes a little more initial to get it to move, and then it moves a little bit freer. It's a little springier while it's moving, all while accomplishing the same thing. So I definitely preferred the Kayaba stuff, probably more than I thought I was, because I thought this was already really good. But it just shows how, different suspension components have different characteristics. With the $400 price increase between these two bikes, I would definitely say that suspension upgrade is easily worth that. It would, I don't know if you could get the suspension to get that type of a feel, but I feel that's a better feel. So if that makes any sense. Anyways, that's sort of the difference between these two bikes. I'm apt to go do a little more testing, and I'm kind of excited now because I've seen that on the standard edition, there's a new set of suspension coming from Sachs, so that could really work wonders. And one other thing to note is we're also doing some testing about ways to reduce the vibration. We have the Mako 360 clamp on this bike and the Flex handlebars on this bike, just to see as well as the Flex impact pegs, and just trying some different things, because when you go back and forth with the KTM, it does feel like these betas vibrate. So we complained about it, and now we're trying to fix it. We'll get back with you on all that as soon as we know. So with that, cheers. See you out on the trail.
Jimmy Lewis here, letting you know that today's video is brought to you by Yamaha. Yeah, even when we test other bikes. Yamaha supports this channel. They've been helping us for a while now. And in all honesty, they like that we have honesty. They support us because they have no problem knowing that we're going to tell it like it is. So when you're watching these videos, know that they're helping us create this content. And I'll just tell you straight up, I'm a big fan of a lot of the Yamaha stuff. I like the YZ 2-stroke, simple, carbureted. My YZ 125 is right there. It's an old one and it's getting a clutch. The YZ 4-strokes have the power tuner app, class leading. I love it. This is the kind of stuff that makes, for me, riding fun, and Yamaha wants to bring it to you. So with that, head down to your Yamaha dealer and tell them Jimmy Lewis sent you, and they'll go, who? Dirt bike test what?